By the magic of technology, I can now introduce you to our guest today. It's the tennis journalist Isabelle Musy, talking all things Australian Open. Isabelle, welcome to Sportuccino. How are you doing this morning?
Very good, thank you. Hello.
It's great to have you on the show. It's so exciting to start the year with the Australian Open once again. Djokovic going for his record seventh title in Melbourne. Is there anyone who can stop him? Can it be Murray?
Could be Murray, could be our Swiss Wawrinka again, and who knows what Nadal and Federer will do. I mean, it could be a bit early for them as they've been away, recovering from injuries, but I mean, they have the motivation, and it'll be a very interesting Australian Open for sure.
Yeah, Djokovic had a bit of a slide towards the end of last season, but he got that win over Murray last week in Qatar. Are we going to see an improved Djokovic? Are we going to see the Djokovic we saw at the start of 2016, start 2017?
That's interesting. I think he's found his motivation back. I mean, you could see. I actually didn't see the match, but I've read a lot about his battle against Murray in Doha last Saturday, and obviously he's. I mean, he lost his temper quite a few times, and I think he was really eager to just show that he's still the boss of tennis. So. I think we'll see the Djokovic we used to see. I think he's past his little crisis, you know, that he had after winning Roland Garros and trying to find new goals to set up. And yeah, it'll be very interesting for sure.
The draw takes place later on Thursday, and with Nadal and Federer ranked pretty low in the seedings, rarer than it normally is for them to be. I think they're around 9th and 12th, in fact. So is this draw really going to matter a lot more than it normally would for Murray and Djokovic? Because potentially, depending on what side Murray and Djokovic are on, they could face the likes of Nadal and Federer in something as early as the quarterfinals. Do you think that could really affect who could win this title?
For sure, the draw will be very important because of this situation. I mean, when you're number one or you're number two, you want to try and have easy first rounds. And if you face Federer in the third round, even though it's not the Federer it used to be, I mean, it's not an easy task at all. So the draw will definitely play a big role. Though, as they all say, if you want to win a Grand Slam, you need to beat them all. So you can't take too much. The draw can't be too important. You just have to take match after match and think that if you want to win, if you think you're able to win the big thing, then you're able to win any opponent. But for sure, I mean, it makes a difference to meet Federer in the third round, or to meet Nadal in the third round, rather than meeting them in the semifinals when you after having a few big matches under your belt already. And I mean, the big player, we know they power up as the days, as the tournament goes on. So for sure, it will be a different situation, and that will be very interesting to see how everyone takes that. But it could be Wawrinka as well, or Raonic, who faces Nadal or Federer in an early round. So the draw will be very interesting for sure.
You mentioned Wawrinka there. I was just thinking, he's a former Australian Open champion. He's a US Open champion. And yet he still doesn't get all the headlines like Djokovic gets, like Murray gets, like Federer and Nadal gets. Is that almost an advantage for him, that he can almost kind of work a little bit under the radar?
I don't know. Maybe it is. Yeah, he had big headlines after his big win in Roland Garros last year, and obviously after the U.S. Open. But for sure, I mean, he's not up there, and he's the first one to say that he's not part of the Big Four because he hasn't won as many as they have. Though winning 3 Grand Slam, I mean, puts him in a very good position at every slams now, and I think all the other players even though he's not in the headlines, all the players know that he's a very serious contender, that he's one of the favorites for each Grand Slam now. But I think Stan is happy probably with that, because he's quite shy. It wasn't easy for him to handle all the change that winning Grand Slams brought in his life. So it's probably good for him. But he trained a lot. He trained in Geneva. He had a special court there in a club with the same surface as the Australian Open. So he'll be ready for sure. And you can never count him out. But even though the media are not necessarily focusing on him at the moment.
Let's talk about the ladies' draw. You know, the top seed and defending champions, Angelique Kerber. Serena Williams is always a strong force. Who else should we be considering on the ladies' draw as a potential champion?
It's always difficult to say with the ladies, because all of a sudden you have people that you're not expecting who pop up and have a go at one slams. I think the big rivalry at the moment, it's still between Kerber and Serena. Difficult to know what their form is. I mean, Kerber lost obviously to Svitolina in quarterfinals in Brisbane last week, but it doesn't mean that she's not ready for Melbourne, where she'll be defending her title. I mean, they had such an amazing final last year with Serena, and Serena the same. You never know. I mean, if she's in good shape, if she's in form, she could just blow it all. But the others, it's always difficult to know who will all of a sudden be ready to make a surprise, or sorry for my English sometimes, to pop up and be there in the final rounds. It'd be interesting. I can't draw a name at the moment. You never know.
You never know it. You know, last year you had, I think Muguruza won a title. Different people have been winning titles in the ladies' draw recently, and obviously Serena's still a force. One of the bits of news which came across over the winter, over the Christmas period, was Serena's engagements. Now, is that going to affect her at all?
Good questions. I don't know her well enough to comment on that. I mean, I don't know. I should think that it shouldn't affect her. I mean, if she's still playing, it means that she still have the motivation. If her private life should take off her motivation, I mean, she would retire. But she started in '95. Can you imagine? It was 22 years ago. So if she's still here, means that she's still eager to try and get her 23rd Grand Slam. So I don't think that should make a difference, but you never know. And again, I don't know her well enough to comment on that, really.
Yeah, it's interesting. You always wondered when Djokovic had his first baby, when Federer had his baby, when Murray's had his baby. You always kind of wondered, is this going to affect their playing career? And in fact, that then started winning even more. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Isabelle, it's been great to talk to you this morning all about the Australian Open. Just before you go, why don't you give us some details of how we can follow your work and anything, any of your channels on social media, please?
Excuse me, say that again.
Yeah, just before you go, could you tell us how we can follow your work, what you're up to, and also how we can find you on social media like Twitter, Facebook, anything like that, please?
I have a Twitter account and Instagram, and I give some usually news mostly on Twitter, sometimes some photos on Instagram, and can read some of my piece on the website of Le Temps and RTS.
Wonderful. We will do, and we'll look at it closely throughout the Australian Open while it's going on from Melbourne from Monday. Isabelle Musy, thank you so much for being on Sportuccino this morning.
You're welcome.